Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So I've been sitting here just crafting away, and I thought, oh, I might as well turn the video on and you can just watch. I don't know if you'll actually learn much because it's just repeat on making the panels that are going to go over my advent calendar images. So I just finished filming the bauble layout, and I was heading off to go and stitch it, but I just didn't get up from my desk, and I decided just to keep going. And because I've sort of realised we're close to the finish line, I started prepping. Let me just move this back into shot. I started prepping the panels. So once I sort of got going, I had a bit of a system happening. So that one there is going to be for the bauble, and the bauble bits are just lying here ready for me to go into the next room and start stitching. So I took a photo of it. I'll reposition everything as I work through the different layers. So then I thought, well, if I'm sitting in the next room, I might as well stitch some of the pieces. So that's sort of where I started. I did that one for bauble, and then I thought, well, I'm so close to 12, I might as well do 9. So I did that one, and I sort of sorted out my box of bits and pieces too. So I thought I'll turn the camera back on, and if you're happy to sit with me for the next hour, I'm just sort of working through the process. And I sort of have a funny story to tell you. Well, it wasn't funny at the time, but it was the week from hell, basically. As if you don't know already, I own some Christmas shops. So you can imagine things are starting to come alive and get busy, and we're hiring staff, and we're just like, everything's all happening. And it's, to understand my industry, if you think about farming and how you plant a crop of pumpkins, and you have to save up your pennies to get through the season prior, which in the way of pumpkins is pretty much 8 months, and then pumpkin season starts, they're ready to pick and get into the shed and take to market. So my Christmas business is pretty much like that. It's like farming. You wait all year for the crop to come in. So it's now getting to the stage where the pumpkins are ready to pick. We're starting to pick them, and then we'll be sending them to market. So the next 8 weeks for me is going to be bedlam. I really, really hope I can keep doing videos every day. I think so. I'm sort of pretty organised person, so I'd like to think that I haven't got anything pre-recorded, I'll probably need to come on anyway just to get a little bit of crafting to keep my sanity and help my mind switch off. But anyway, it was a shocker of a week. It was, if anything could have gone wrong, it went wrong. And it so happens that my best mate, Marianne, is driving with her husband and her niece down to Newcastle for a wedding. So they left very early on Friday morning. They've driven most of the way, and they've camped overnight somewhere. I can't remember now, but they've hired this beautiful little cottage for the three of them to bunk down in. It gives them somewhere to get dressed for the wedding, and then I'm thinking it's only then an hour's drive and they're in Newcastle. So she's in the car. They've got this really long journey. And she sends me a text. Oh, well, actually, I sent her a text and said, make sure you send me lots of pictures of the wedding, because I actually know the young man getting married. He's Marianne's nephew. He worked for us when he was a young fella in the Christmas industry. So most of the nephews and nieces did in that family. So they're all great kids, and so I sort of know them. Well, they're now grown up and they're getting married and having babies, and the young fella is now getting married. So off they're going on this road trip because they can't rely on planes to get them there on time. So they thought, hang, they'll drive. What an adventure. Bit of a road trip. Anyway, she says to me, yes, I'll send you heaps of pictures as they come in, because I'm like sitting at home wishing I was with them, not only in the car just for something to do, just, you know, have some fun at a wedding because they don't come around very often these days. So she said, how's your week? And it was Friday afternoon, and it was probably 1 hour before the shops were closing for the day. So it was about 4 o'clock. And we got a call from a manufacturer down the road that was making a hot plate for me. It's to size hot plate to go in this outdoor kitchen. Anyway, they are like aluminium manufacturers, or not making the aluminium, but they form it up into things. And they started their business, gosh, I'm digressing here, but anyway, they started their business making aluminium handrails for the boating industry. And they've now ventured into hot plates, so barbecues basically. Now the beautiful thing about them is these barbecues, they've designed them in such a way and have had them certified to be able to go inside. So, which means you can now have a barbecue plate that functions like a normal stove, but it can be inside your house. And now, if you know anything about barbecuing, it's big in Australia, but you've always got to be in a well-ventilated outdoor area. But their product that they've invented, it's like a brand new arm to their business, is able to go inside. So anyway, long story short, we'd ordered one of these particular plates and they called and said it was ready to go. So it was 4 o'clock Friday afternoon. Hell Week had come to a close, we hope, and it did, because it's now Sunday when I'm filming this, so all is good in the ranch again. So we're on the road driving down. It's probably 20 minutes down the highway to pick up this plate. And my girlfriend, who's driving to Newcastle, says, how was your week? And we were we took our work van to pick this thing up. We were sitting in the work van just reminiscing about the week, going, oh my goodness, can you believe all that happened? Why are we doing this? This is crazy. We're getting too old for this. You know, all of those sorts of conversations were going on in the van as we're trundling down the highway. And, of course, Marianne says, how was your week? So I said, are you sitting down? Of course she is. She's in a car driving to Newcastle. So I said, are you sitting down? She goes, yes. Can you run away from me if I start talking? She's like, nope, I'm in a car. I'm like, perfect. So I started bullet pointing one after the other, everything that happened for the week. And it was so funny. My husband and I are driving along going, oh yes, that happened, that happened, that happened, this happened. So I'm typing it to Marianne in a car. And of course she's like, you're taking forever. I'm like, I'm still working on it. I'm still working on this list. The list is huge. So what ended up happening is, I'll just bring you up the text. This is the text, bullet point by bullet point, to my friend of what happened this week. So I thought I might go through it and show you. And that's where I'm like, now, can you sit down? That's Judge Judy saying, are you sitting down? And I was on my way to pick up the barbecue. So I've got a picture of a beautiful rib being fried on the barbecue. So that's sort of how this all sort of started. And there she says, what happened in your week? What a can of worms that was. So what I'm going to do is bullet point down what happened in my week. So if you ever think about owning a business, by the end of this list, you'll be like, oh, okay, forget about that idea, because it was just such a challenge. So I'm going to try and cut numbers and do this job at the same time as tell you about the bullet points. So what did I get up to? Let's hang on a minute. We got 9. So that'll be 10. We need an 11. So let's cut some numbers. Don't think that's big enough. I just need to find a dark blue fabric that I can cut to create a 1. All right, first thing on the list is email stopped working. It just disappeared, literally disappeared. We have numerous email accounts. Each store has an email account. My husband and I have an email account for the business and in personal. And then there's the email that is attached to the back end of the website so that customers can chat to us. They all disappeared, literally disappeared. So after 3 days of my husband talking to a help desk person who would be there for a 6-hour type shift. I'm sure they're there longer, but they just get sick of talking to us and just say, oh, end of shift, see you later, and then pass the job on to someone else in their crew. Well, he spent 3 days backwards and forwards, and then we finally found out that Microsoft doesn't like the fact that we're using a different program, which we've been using for years. They've now switched all of those programs off that host email, so it might be Thunderbirds or some random program that, there's heaps of them out there. Well, they've gone, no, you all need to use Microsoft Outlook, and they switched everyone off. Now, I think they're working through countries, I think they're working through sections and slowly switching them off. So when we establish that they no longer want the 2 programs that we use, the personal one plus the business one, talking to their system, we're like, right, okay, so they've granted us an extension to January to get it sorted out, in other words, switch them off and come over and join the Microsoft family, which is another subscription when we're already paying a subscription, but we won't get into that. So that was the problem. So we finally got email switched back on. So that was the first thing that happened. Then Adobe stopped working. And we thought, I wonder if this is a similar thing. Why is Adobe not working? And then my husband was like, no, that's not anything to do with Microsoft. That's actually the server that we've got at home where all our programs sit on and the stores dial in each day to, connect to the system. Suddenly that's not working. So after spending time trying to get hold of Microsoft again and finding out that it wasn't them, it was our server. Now, our server is basically a big computer that hosts all of our programs. Now, that we put in place in 2016. So it appears that the server's program, its base program, is no longer up to date enough for Adobe, which is a subscription-based program, and that allows our stores to create price tickets. So they can edit price tickets, they can edit documents, and of course I use it as well. If I'm using PDF files, I need Adobe. So the long story short is Adobe no longer wants to deal with our server because it's too old. So that was another day and a half of tag team with who knows who you were talking to find out that Adobe doesn't want to talk to our old server. And it's not even that old, really. So my husband's like, right, that's it. They made me do a subscription about 4 months ago, and it's not cheap. So he cancels the subscription and just gets a non-subscription based editing PDF program. Finds one, lickety-split, boom, onto the server, done. Problem solved. But that still took a day. So that was the second thing that happened. The third thing, payroll. We have a payroll program that is also our bookkeeping program. It's our point of sale, as in what the tills use to scan products, inventory management. It does invoices. It does everything for our business. Well, the payroll section failed. Now, what we're doing at the moment is we are hiring heaps and heaps of staff because we're ramping up for our season. So in the process of getting all of these new people on board, my husband sends them a link via email that they complete, and that then allows them to type all of their personal information in. It goes directly into the back of our program, and then when my husband comes to pay them for the week, he clicks on their name and everything's there. Where in the old days, like 3 years ago, we used to have to get their resume and type it all in ourselves. So there's always a chance of errors, or you can't read their handwriting is mainly the issue. But now it's all done via the new person at home. They type it in. It magically appears in the back end of our payroll system, and then my husband just does the wages and they're in. And the tax department in Australia is linked to it as well. So as this new person types in that data, it goes to the government, it comes to us, and a lickety-split, it all is U-Butte fantastic, and it will save you so much time, and you will be so pleased that you're in the integrated system. See, that's the sales pitch they give you. Well, it stopped working. So not only were these people not getting the original email to link, their data, which was hit and miss, their data wasn't coming back in. So my husband had to get old school, get the resume and have to type it all in, and to at least pay these people so that we didn't look like dodgy characters. So on to that company. Why is our payroll not working? And of course they go, but it is working. No one else has reported a fault. And we're like, well, that may be the case, but it ain't working for us. So in amongst those other 3 Adobe, Microsoft email, we're chasing payroll now. So that was the 3rd. The 4th one, because we're hiring a heap of staff, we sort of need quite a few. So you can't be too crazy in your interviewing. Like, you just put a heap of people on and you give them all a go. And it's always the way, the ones you think that are going to be great, and you walk away from an interview going, oh, what a score. That they're just lovely. They're going to be great. Or what a great work ethic there. You can just feel that they're going to be good. Well, our one store is in a mass hiring at the moment because a lot of her staff from previous years have all graduated from uni and they've gone on to start their careers. So she's in a hiring phase at the moment, hence the payroll issue popped up. So she's hired, I think, 6 in a couple of days. Well, 2 of them have quit already. 1 shift, gone. 2 shifts, gone. So it feels like she's taking 1 step forward and 1 step back. And these were staff that were just lovely, and they're lovely, lovely people, but it just wasn't for them. I think they were looking for something a little bit quieter and a little bit more laid-back retail, where our business is chaos. It is unloading containers, getting that gear onto the shelf, and then the crowds start coming. And I'm talking, they're not even here yet, the crowds. When they start really coming in November, when everyone starts looking for their Christmas decorations. At the moment, we've got early birds, and they're just, starting to decorate because they may do quite a big decorating process. They spend, a month and a half getting their homes ready. So they have to be in and, they beat the crowds too. They get to see everything, where often it starts selling out. So they like to get in early. So as fast as we're hiring them, they're quitting. So I'd rather know now that it's not for them than, we find out in the busy period of trade, and then we've got, no staff. So it's all good. And to be honest, they had applied, the one gentleman had applied, and he was lovely. They'd applied for other jobs at the same time. So they not only got a call from us, they got a call from, another business, and that other business offered them full-time work where we're casual. So a lot of the time it's that. So that was, what are we up to? Number 4. Yep, that's number 4. Number 5, we had, because we're in training phase, you've got all these new people, you're going to get errors. So unfortunately, some transactions were processed and the staff didn't realise that the FPOS machine had not approved the transaction. It had been declined. For whatever reason, they didn't hear the little beep, beep, beep where the machine says, problem here, you haven't got the money yet. And of course, the customers left with all of the stock for free. 90% of the time the customer realises and they come back, or they're coming back anyway the next week and we spot them and go, hey, can you just check your account? But we're pretty sure those goods were not paid for. And, 90% of the time it works out. And it's really tricky because they're new at learning and just crushes them. You can see it on their face when they realise that, they've made an error. But I can tell you, you only do it once when you're young and you're learning, and you make those critical errors and you just feel terrible that you've, made this mistake. You never forget, do you? You never forget. There's always that one time. And then you're like, oh, now I'm going to be right onto that and I'm never going to do it again. So we had a bit of that this week. But it always happens around this time of the year because we're building our teams. So that was, when you've been on the phone all day with Microsoft and then you have these little errors coming in, it's like, oh, hang in there, hang in there. They're all learning. So that was in amongst the week. So what was that? That was number 5. Oh, number 6. In amongst all this, we're starting to repair the damage that Bandit has done. Bentley was my previous dog. Bandit. Mr. Bandit. Now, he has been the perfect pup. He has behaved himself to no end. Pepper was a nightmare from day dot, chewing everything. Bandit has been absolute dream dog. Absolute. But something's happened in the Bandit brain, and he's 8 months old, and he's now decided to annihilate everything, which I've mentioned before. So the hot water system has been disconnected from the house, all of the power cords, the sensor that goes to the solar chewed off. The pump that takes the freshwater rain tank water to a tap on the side of the shed, which I use to put water in doggy bowls, water the garden, power cord chewed off. So now the pump doesn't work, so therefore I can't get water out of the tank. And then on the side of the house are these 3 huge transformers with little wires that go down into the concrete that connect into the pool to turn on these pool lights. Wires all gone. One of the transformers he's got off the wall, and I'm talking it's a brick like this big, and throwing it around the yard, playing, having a great time. So Mr. Bandit has done quite a bit of damage. So the electrician is out to fix damage. So that was one day of work, like one day. I don't even want to think how much that's going to cost. And then he comes in and he says, look, I can't fix the hot water system because he's actually pulled the little fine lead which connects the solar on the roof to the hot water system. It must be like a communication thing. He's actually pulled it out so far that the whole thing needs to be replaced that the cord goes into, because he can't fix it without there. I can hear him goosing around out there now. He can't. There he is. He knows I'm talking about him. They're wrestling. They're fighting. They're not fighting. They're playing rough. So anyway, hot water system is not fixed. He has to come back when he orders in this part. Oh, the part is $400. Ah, Bandit, I do love you so. So now we're barricading everything. The place looks like a shanty town because I've got pieces of timber and pallets and things zip-tied to things to try and protect everything that this man has fixed. So, yeah. So that was number 6. The electrician and the unfinished task and the cost. Now, what was the next thing? Oh, yeah. And in the process of talking to the electrician, the store rings, one of the stores rings and says the air conditioning's not working. So the same company sent a man out to the store, and they are in the process of replacing a panel within the air conditioning that has, for some reason, electrically fried, whether there was a surge went through the system or because it hasn't been turned on for, 8 months, because it's been winter. This fault may have even happened probably last year with a thunderstorm that went through, and we just didn't realise. So the store may have been closed for inventory or closed for the 4 weeks that we do close, where all the staff have their annual leave. I don't like that. That too just disappears. I need a stronger colour, so forget about that one. So it turns out this system needs this new panel. So that was another, it doesn't work phone call. What was the last one? We're in the process of building a house that we hope to move into in the future. So we will sell where we are and move into this house. So the builder rings us, and that's what the barbecue's for. It's for the outdoor patio area that I've enclosed. So it's actually part of the house, hence why you need an indoor appliance. So that's how that all come to be. Anyway, I digress. To section the house off to make it more cost effective to use air conditioning, I've got these doors throughout the place in key spots that I can then just air condition one room instead of wasting power energy on air conditioning the entire house. I can just do the space that my husband and I are actually in. So it might be the craft room and the TV room, for example. So these doors are to be installed, and they're glass sliding doors, so nothing out of the ordinary because they're on every house leading outdoor anyway. But what's happened is they've arrived, and the builder rings, because we want the track that they slide on recessed into the concrete so that when you're walking through your house, you don't clip it with your slippers and you trip. And it can be done. It's quite a common thing, but anyway, I think what's happened is the builder hasn't remembered that. So these big doors have arrived, these big sliders, and the track is like an angle. How do I describe it? I think the track goes like that. I don't know if you can see that. So I think how they're made is a floor tile from inside the house. Can't see that, can you? This is my limited understanding of this track that the big door slides on. So the door, that's the door, shimming along this rail, which you see. Then this little drop down and a plate, and this little drop down and plate is under all your tiling. So normally these are on your exterior house. So the inside house tile would sit here, and then the outside house tile, which is pavers usually, or, thicker tiles, sit here. So this track is no good in the house now because we need it to be that. So inside tile, and we can close this door to, save air conditioning entire rooms or 2 rooms because of this door. Anyway, so the builder rings and he says, these doors aren't right. There's now a delay, blah, 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 blah. More delay. So it's all good. We're too busy to really be too concerned anyway. Building this house is very low on our priority. It's all sorted. It's done. They're just carrying on. They've done the frame and the roof. So it's just, It will happen when it happens. It's not on my list of concerns really at the moment. So that was in amongst the week as well. We had to go through all of the paperwork to find where we had specifically asked for that, because the supervisor who's out on the job site, he doesn't have all of those little details. If it's not marked on the plan, he pretty much doesn't know. But it was marked on the plan. But he just wanted to make sure that it was definitely to be done. because he knew that these doors were not right and it would, you know, delay everything. I think the bricklayers are due any day. So without all of those internal doors installed, the bricklayers really don't want to come on site. So it's just jiggering up everything. So that happened. And then that's number 8. Number 9, this is a doozy. It was Thursday night, and we get a call about 10 to 5. We close at 5 o'clock. The roller door at one of our stores is not coming down, and when they push the button for the big roller door, and we're talking not a garage roller door, we're talking a huge roller door. This thing would probably be 12 meters wide, and it's old. It is old. As the landlord said, it'd be 20 years old. And this old girl has finally said, enough, I'm not coming down. So the store rings, can't get the door down. As they push the button, all this rust and metal fell down onto the ground and the door won't move. Oh, great. 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the store's closing. What do? So we finally got hold of the landlord, and he was missing in action. Couldn't get him to answer till 6. Our staff member could stay till 8:30. And just oversee the project because the door's wide open. The shop is fully exposed. Can't close up. So eventually, long story short, this man comes out, and he must have got a bollocking from the landlord because he was really grumpy. And I spoke to my manager and I said, oh, I see he's there because we've got a camera on that door. And I said, oh, I see he's arrived. Is everything okay? And he goes, oh, he is foul. He is slamming things. He's throwing tools around. He's really angry that he's been called out. And I'm guessing the landlord has said, get out there now. You've been with us for years. We give you a lot of business. Get out there now. So anyway, he's come in hot. He is grumpy. What am I missing? I've got 8, 9, so we need a 10. All right. So this man's turned up. Bang, crash, boom. Not happy Jan. And my manager says, look, pull your head in because we're all stuck here. I'm here to help you. You help me and we'll get out of here because I can't leave either because this door is broken. So the guy just simmered down and apologised. So, which was great because, you know, that's the reality. Everyone's in it together. Let's work together. No one wants to be there. Let's get this fixed. So we're watching this process, and he's got angle grinders out. He's got bolt cutters. He's got hammers, crowbars, bashing and slamming, and our manager's holding torches for him because he needed the power disconnected so that he could work on it so he didn't get electrocuted. So it's quite a palaver. So we're still at home and we're thinking, righto, at 7:30 we'll head to the store and take over so that our manager can go home for the night because he's already been there all day. So, you know, enough's enough. Anyway, we're watching the banging, the clashing, and we're getting updates from our manager saying, yeah, it's slowly coming down. It's slowly coming down. Eventually it comes to time for us to go, and I said to my husband, if it can't come down, what are we going to do? Because the shop's exposed. And I said, I think we're going to have to sleep in the van, our work van that we use to transport stock between the stores. So I'm off down the hallway to the linen cupboard. So I'm pulling out some sheets, an old doona. And then I'm thinking, well, what are we going to sleep on? Like, I don't have a mattress that I can throw in the back of a van, but I do have a heap of cushions that sit on our outdoor furniture. And because you know who, Mr. Bandit, has chewed all of our outdoor furniture and Pepper over the last 2 years, I'm pretty much down to 2 or 3 pieces, but I still have all the cushions. And they're big, huge rectangle pieces of foam, really thick pieces. So I thought, perfect. So they're all sitting down in a spare bedroom. So I'm dragging them all out and I'm laying them down in the van, and I've created a bed. Created a bed and then some blankets, and, you know, I'm ready. And I'm like, right. So then I'm like, well, what am I going to do all night? So I'm scooting around the craft room and I'm packing together some hand sewing. So it's just hilarious. So I've created a basket of all of my Roxy Creations pieces that I can stitch. And so it's so funny. My husband's looking at this van. He's thinking, oh my goodness, it looks like we're going camping, you know. And everything's in the back. I've got some sewing with me, so I'm not going to get bored, because heaven forbid I get bored. And we're ready. So it's probably about 7:45, and we have a chat to the manager, and he said, look, the door is coming down quite well. We're probably a metre off the ground. Don't bother coming. I think it's going to all come together and we'll be fine. So I'm like, oh, okay. I was actually looking forward to it. It was like we were going camping. We were going to defend the store and sleep in the back of the van. So it was like, it was exciting. And I was just picturing myself. I even put a beanbag in, because I thought I could sit in the beanbag in the back of the van or in the store and do some needlework. So I was like, oh, okay, looks like the emergency's over. So, and sure enough, they got the door down, but they only got it down 30 centimetres from the ground. So we've since had to use some timber and metal panels to secure the store by screwing in, you know, extra bits and pieces to try and cover the little 30 centimetre gap that's at the bottom. So the door is stuffed, absolutely stuffed. It is literally just disintegrated. The cogs that the big roller door rolls over has just blown to bits. So it's a new door. But the landlord's fantastic. They'll take care of that for us. And they're a very big company, so they probably will get a door a lot quicker than my husband and I'll ever get one. So all is good. Roller door is ordered. Store is secure. I didn't get to camp like I'd hoped. Whoops, sorry, bumped the camera. That would have been a bit of fun to lighten up the week. So let's go back to the list. What else happened that week? See what I mean? It's just insane. Number 10, got attacked by a snake. Don't panic, it was a tree snake. And we weren't really attacked. We were in the van reversing down the driveway, and we just looked to the side out the driver's window, and here is a green tree snake. And this thing probably was 90 centimetres, 3 foot long. He was a good size. And he is winding himself up the retainer wall, up to the neighbour's fence, sitting on the retainer wall. And then he went up the fence and over and went on his merry way. And it was so funny because we were reversing in to park the van. And I said to my husband, thank goodness we got the meter fixed, because there was a fault on our board on the meter box. And I mentioned this in a previous video, that when Energex came out to replace the faulty meter, they found in there a small tree snake. Now, that little fellow, I was sure I knew, because we've always had this little tree snake in the garden, and he's sort of around where my bins sit. There's a pond in the front, so he's just sort of cruising around, and in summer he's often in the pond, sort of cooling off or chasing whatever it is he chases, tadpoles. So he's been here for probably 3 years. Well, Energex turned up to replace the faulty meter and opens up the little door, and boom, there's a snake. The guy comes back to the house front door and he says, I can't do the job. There's a snake in your meter box. You've got to get rid of him. I'm like, oh, great. So he takes off and they reschedule our job for Monday, the hell week. So Energex Man is on his way for that Monday. So I spent all weekend just going in and out of that meter box and making sure that he wasn't there. And he was there on the Friday last week, but he slithered down behind some componentry, and I think he shot out the back because it's a box with pipes coming up, power coming up, and there's a little bit of a gap. So with me banging and clanging in there, he's moved on. So I got some paper towel and I poked it around those pipes to sort of block off him coming back in. And then every day I went and just opened, I need some more pins. I've run out of pins. Opened up the meter box, made a bit of noise, and it just became a place where a little snake would not want to be. It was like too much going on. Oh, I don't want to use these because they bend. I just want pins. I need pins. I'll have to use some needles that I've got here. So Snakey's moved on. Meter box got fixed and everything was good. So this particular day we're reversing down the driveway, parking the van, and my husband said, oh, thank goodness that job got done because the snake was no longer in the meter box. And he said, I quote, I wonder where he is now. And dead set, I looked at my husband. I'm in the passenger seat. I turned my head, looked at my husband to listen to him. I wonder where that snake is now. And I said, oh, I made so much noise. I'm sure the young fella's moved on and is no longer living there because it was just not very pleasant for him. And I looked past my husband's face to the retainer wall outside the window of the van, and what do I see but this snake going up the retainer wall? And I said, literally in the same sentence, I said, I wonder where he is. Oh, there he is. He's there. And my husband's turned his head to the retainer wall and seen this snake probably 2 foot away from the window of the van. The window's up, so there was no chance of him getting bitten or anything like that. And Snakey by now is like, oh my goodness, what is this thing that's pulled up beside me? I'm scared. I've got to get hooting. So he has really picked up his speed, and he is spectacular. He's going up this wall and up the fence, 6-foot fence. So we probably got, you know, a good 2 minutes of observation of this fellow working his way up. And Gaz didn't get involved in the snake incident and the switch box because he's just not interested in dealing with a snake. He's very fearful of them, where I'm probably not as bad. I'm a farm kid. I had a lot of snakes around when I was a kid. So he's looked at it and gone, oh my goodness, that thing is huge. And I'm looking at it going, that's not the one I was dealing with. He was only a little fella, and he was like a shoelace. If you imagine a long shoelace just coiled in like the figure 8 along the top of a couple fuse switch things. I don't know what they're called. So he was cute. He's only little. Well, it would appear that the snake going up the retainer wall is snake number 2. Now, I'm wondering if that's actually the one that I've been observing for a few years, and mama snake or daddy snake has had babies. And one of those little babies is in the fuse box. And that snake has got a lot bigger. I can't use that. That's like a needle. I've got to start pinching some pins from other pieces here. I'm wondering if that's daddy or mama snake, and I've got 2 now. So just to add to the week, we got wrangled by a snake, and my husband, as he tells people what happened, he says he was attacked by a snake. He wasn't. It was going up the retainer wall on the outside of the van with his window closed. He just got a bit of a shock when he spotted it, as you can imagine. So, yeah, that's the story of the snake. Now, where are we up to? Number 11. Okay, If you remember a previous video, I mentioned that our computers were starting to fail. Some of the older ones, we've got a bit of a range of them as we opened stores, because we had 5 Christmas shops at one stage. As we were opening all the stores, we were buying computers as we were going. So some of the original computers, I need to get more calico. I've got to hop up from the desk, guys. Sorry. I need a piece. A big piece. Yep, here we go. So over the years, we've been buying them as needed as we opened up stores. Some of those are now starting to pack it in. So I mentioned on a previous video that we were attempting to buy some new terminals. So we bought 4. So 2 to replace the dodgy ones and 2 spare. And in the process of getting them, because it took like 3 weeks, a couple more gave up the ghost. So luckily we ordered 4 and we installed them and everything was working beautifully. Job done. That was 2 weeks ago. Well, these 4 computers now, they connect to the server via the internet. So you open them up and you click on this icon that connects to the server. There's the server again with all of the programs on it that it needs. So what happened was, for some reason, they disconnect. So you'd connect it and within 20 seconds, it'd disconnect. So then you'd reconnect and then a disconnect. And they were all doing it. And my husband's like scratching his head going, what now? He says, they were working. So the frustration. So another computer issue. And as you know, we've had a few already on the list that I'm going through. So now he has these new terminals just disconnecting of their own free will. So very frustrating. Anyway, that was another thing to sort out. They sorted it out. Like, my husband's very smart. Sorted it out. So all is good and they are stable and they're connecting. It had a timeout function and it had done an update, and the update had put a few of those settings back to normal. And if you have a timeout function set for every 20 seconds, it's like your laptop turns off every 20 seconds. So you've got to go into settings and make it just stay on. Otherwise, if you are using it to connect to something, you don't want to be reconnecting every 20 seconds. So that's what it was. So they nutted it out and they fixed it with the help of a fantastic IT guy that has been our support for many years. Between Gary and this chap, they are legends, because, boy, I'd be out of action. I'd be like throwing my hands in the air and I'd be just, I don't know what I'd do. What was next on the list? Okay. Next one is number 13. As you know, my mum passed away at the beginning of the year. So Dad is managing things himself, lots of things, everything from running a farm to running a household. Anyway, I ring him on Saturday and I just said to him, oh, how's it all going? He goes, oh, good, harvesting the onions, but I've run out of the bags and the courier will take 3 days for them to get here. We're looking at some wet weather coming, so we'll spend that time in the shed bagging them all up. So they run them through a machine that sorts them, grades them, and then they're ready to go into the bags. The machine sort of trundles them down into the bags. So, and he goes, I'm driving through to Gatton tomorrow to pick them up, and that way I got them. And I thought, oh, Sunday, that would be very rare for a rural business to be open on a Sunday. So I said, oh, hang on a minute. And so I hopped on the internet while I was chatting to him. Now, Dad doesn't have access to the internet. So unless you ring a business on a phone that's in your house and say, are you trading? you really don't know, because at the end of the day, they don't advertise trading hours anymore like you used to. You know, all of those things have changed so much. And Dad doesn't know how to use a smartphone to any great degree. He can look up the weather and see if there's rain coming. We've got that set up. But as for Google and all of that, it's just, yeah, we're surviving without it. And dead set, I'm looking at it and thinking, well, they're not even open on a Saturday and they're not open on a Sunday. They don't even have trading hours. I bet you they're closed. Anyway, so I said to him, Dad, you can't go tomorrow because tomorrow's Sunday. He goes, no, it's not, it's Monday. And I said, no, Dad, it's Sunday. So he'd sort of lost track of the days of the week, the poor thing, working so hard in the farm. He's, you know, these things don't often pop up on your radar. See that there is the same as that. It's bugging me. I don't want to cut those numbers out again. I wonder if I've got another strip. Yeah, I do. So luckily I called, otherwise he would have driven a 4-hour round trip to collect the bags that needed for the onions and found that they were closed. Oh, I tell you, you just don't realise how much we rely on Google to get information. And it's like, unless it's on Google, you just don't get it anymore, where he probably would have in the past had a brochure or a order form which would have had the trading hours, which you just keep in your cupboard, and if you want to go see a business, you either ring them or you check the brochure. Well, none of that happens anymore. It's all on the internet. So I just sort of feel like the elderly in our community are just getting left behind. Don't even get me started on banks. Bank statements aren't coming out in paper form anymore to him. He needs them to know what's in his bank account. So that's been a palaver to sort out. It's all sorted now. Turns out they can turn them on for you and it will continue. But unless you contact them, the bank statements just stop coming. So don't even get me started on the banking industry. So what else is on my list? I must be nearly there. I think that's it. Yep, that's it. Yeah. So that was my week. That was my week. And of course, Mary Ann is sitting in the car driving to Newcastle, and she gets that text to say, this is what happened to me. Crazy, isn't it? Oh, now I've lost my numbers. So we're nearly there. Just got to find something pretty to go on this one. So what have we got? I like that. What else is in my scraps? Just looking for a little element to put on, because these are all bits and pieces that I've pretty much used through the whole project. Just snippets and scraps. So yeah, thanks for joining me as I've debriefed, as I've told you what's happened in my week. This week's going to be different. This week is going to be really good. Nothing's going to go wrong. Everything is just going to be simple. And we're going to have a great week. We're going to find lots of great new staff. Do I want that? I don't think I do. Oh, I know what I could put on here is some of this. A little bit of that. That's pretty. I use that in the red. Let's use this. I'll trim around them all because that'll give a nice little raggedy edge. Make it look super cute. I'll get rid of some of these that have been chopped. So yeah, welcome to my world of owning a business, the trials and tribulations. Don't get me wrong, not every week is like this. We do have a week every year like this, mind you, because it's like we're waking the system up. We're waking the stores up, ready for the season. It's like everything's been on hiatus. So any faults or any updates or any issues just all come to light this week. But still a few things to sort. We haven't got it all squared away yet. So as my husband said, he's not 100% sure that everything is fixed and stable. For example, payroll's still not working. So we're waiting on another technician to call us about that. But I think we have overcome most things. So if you're thinking about starting a business, oh, I tell you, you need many, many people around you for support. That's all I'll say. You can't do everything. You can't possibly know how to do everything. You just can't. I'm not a computer person. Luckily, my husband has a bit of a forte for at least understanding the language of computers. So he can sort of hold his own when he's talking to people, or over the years he's learnt little things to sort of muddle his way through to get us going again. But, you know, there's definitely things. And as my hubby said, things are changing so much in the computer world that he does feel now as if he's getting left behind too. So, yeah, a bit of a worry. All right, everyone, that's it for me. I've got myself prepped right up to the 12th, 11, 10, 9, 8, and of course the bauble piece underneath. So lots of stitching I can do this week. I guess if another roller door jams and doesn't close, I'm ready to grab all of this to stitch. Let's hope not. We're going to get all of the roller doors serviced because the other store has 3 of them. So when we get a moment this coming week, we're going to ring a roller door man and he's going to grease and oil those roller doors and check them, because the last thing we need is me sleeping in a van in the car park protecting Christmas. It's just hilarious. Just hilarious. Would have been fun, but I was looking forward to it. It's the kid coming out in me. All right, guys, I'll leave you in peace. Have a great week, and I'm sure you will. I'm sure it'll be way, way better than what I had. Bye for now. See ya.